This is the Original Firefighter Podcast, where we talk about anything you would talk about at the firehouse kitchen table. And sometimes we even talk about fighting fires. Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell. Let's get into the show. Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of the Original Firefighter Podcast. I am your host, Will Peterson, and with me is Phil Nedved, Mr. Sunglasses.
Hell yes.
What's up, Phil? Hey, we got a great show for you. We are on location at Barnstormers in Rockford, Illinois. We just had a conversation with one of the owners. We're in Rockford. We're in Byron. Pick your choice. It's all good with us. But we're on the south side of Rockford, very close to the Rockford Airport, and very fitting at this place that we're at. It's a distillery, and it's a beautiful distillery. Actually, we're sitting in a hangar, and we'll swing around if you're watching. We'll swing around and we'll walk the grounds here in a little bit. But we're actually sitting in a hangar that's been built to facilitate a beautiful bar, a beautiful place for gathering and just people coming out. I've been coming out here now for the last several months, and I really kind of can't get enough of it. So I think it's a great place. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to actually be sampling bourbon that we aged. So Original Firefighter started to age bourbon last year, and we're going to be aging. We're going to continue that aging process. But today we're going to pull one of the barrels, and we're going to sample it and just kind of see where we're at in the aging process. Also on the show, we're going to have the owners of Barnstormers, Tim and Addie. They're going to be on the show with us, and also a couple other guests. And you'll have to stay tuned for that. But for right now, I got Phil. And how you doing, man?
I'm really good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm excited. Whenever we go out on location, I'm happy about it. It gets us out of the studio. We love the studio. It's a great location there. But when we're out and about, we get to travel and meet new people. And so, as we said in our last episode, you're going to be seeing more of us being on location in different places. We may go as far as out of state soon to be. So that'll be more teasing to come. But anyways, what's been going on in the news, man?
I'm happy you said that. I didn't want to throw something out there that was if you've been.
We haven't said it all. We haven't said it all just yet, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
No, it's been going good.
Yeah.
Appreciate you having me back. I think we always have a good time when we do this. So
I
look forward to today. Like you said, Barnstormers out here in Rockford. It's a beautiful location. I mean, it's just a really serene area, kind of wooded. And,
yeah.
I mean,
they got big plans out here.
Yeah.
When we like I said, if you're just listening, I will try to describe it best as we can. But if you're watching on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, we'll be walking the grounds, and we'll kind of be picking up some of the beautiful nature that's out here. They got just a fantastic location. And I love this plane that they got sitting over here too. They got an actual plane. I don't think that would fly though.
It'd glide.
Yeah.
Might not fly.
Newark wouldn't pick it up. So, now we got a big plane going right by.
Big plane.
What's been going on in the job? How's Rockford been?
Busy.
Yeah?
Busy. It's nonstop. I'm kind of in a slump though, fire-wise. It's been a minute, but we'll get back there. When it hits, it hits. So. Yeah.
Well, last time you were on the show, you guys were going gangbusters. You would have 2, 3, 4 fires at a shift.
A shift. Yeah. It was pretty busy. I think we hit our max, and
we'll
get back to it.
That's what Rockford is like.
Yeah.
What the average is a structure fire, still one every 31 hours, somewhere around there.
Yep.
Super busy. And then all of a sudden you just have these shifts where all of a sudden you're hitting 2 or 3 fires in one shift.
Yeah.
And I don't
the averages work out at the end of the
actual
year.
structure fires.
Yeah.
Let's be clear about that.
Yeah.
We're not registering dumpster fires.
Correct. Not a structure fire, but it is a structure, but not a structure fire.
Yeah, it's a container. But yeah, so everything's been good. You guys have been back are you guys in rounds of negotiations right now?
Yeah, currently in negotiations with the city. So it's going.
Yeah.
We'll see where it goes.
I bring that up because on our last episode, we talked about how Chicago Local 2 has been working for 4 years without a contract.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
You know what? I know when they had the DNC in Chicago last year, they were out there in protest because the Democratic Party has been a party that Chicago Local 2 has supported for many, many years, but showing their displeasure with the treatment of the firefighters, the first responders, law enforcement. We've got to support our brothers down there and make sure that they can get a contract. But unfortunately, when you continue to elect these certain people into office all the time, that's what you're going to get. So until you change things for yourself, you can't expect change to come any other way.
That city, they didn't do any favors to themselves by after Lightfoot left and now the new mayor. I don't really have a lot of good things to say about that person.
He's not been great. What was it on Memorial Day? He wished everyone a happy Africa Day.
Okay.
So
all right.
That was an interesting thing that he did there, but to each his own, I guess.
Yeah,
we all support and celebrate what we choose to. I would choose to support
labor,
our service members.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. That was on Memorial Day.
Yeah, Memorial Day.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. That was Memorial Day.
Just recently. Yeah.
You're playing with fire there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he definitely did. Unfortunately, the other candidate for the Democrat Party, Paul Vallis, was a school superintendent, had a lot of background, has been in Chicago politics for many years now. Actually, my stepdad grew up with his brother, and they used to kind of beat him up. Have you ever seen the movie? What's the one? Old School.
Oh, of course.
Who
hasn't seen Old School?
So you had the dean of the school, cheese, right? And they used to, Rodney's kid brother, they used to put him in the dumpster. I think that was Paul Vallis when he was younger. My stepdad used to put him in the dumpster.
Oh,
so,
that's funny.
No, he was, I thought he would actually have a good shot. I think people got tired of the Lori Lightfoots of Chicago politics. But when you actually look at the breakdown, and there's actually been studies, it was a very segregated vote. In the Hispanic area, they voted for the Hispanic candidate. In the black area, they voted for the black candidate. In the white area, they voted for the white candidate, which should not be politics. But actually, what swung it for Brandon Johnson to win was in the liberal white area, they voted for the black candidate.
Right.
So it's unfortunate that we still talk about segregated areas and how things work.
Right.
But,
right.
It shouldn't be in politics at all. It should be based on what are your policies? What are you pushing
Absolutely.
for?
I mean, I think what you're saying there is when you refer to what the Chicago mayor said on Memorial Day. He said, Happy
Africa Day.
Happy Africa Day. Okay. Yeah. And so
obviously
that's pretty polarizing, right?
I might get fact checked there. It might have been the day before that he posted it, but it still didn't post anything on Memorial Day itself. So
right.
It's one of those things where it's like,
Well, at Original Firefighter, we salute our troops, and we're thankful for the sacrifice of every single person, military wise, and anyone that's given their life to this country, man or woman, creed, race. We don't care. We honor all of that. The swing over to another state that is kind of shocking me right now, New York State, and Andrew Cuomo is back. And he's leading, at least in the Democratic primary, but he's leading, and it's very interesting to see how that goes. Right now.
He wins.
Yeah, I think he probably wins on name alone.
Yeah. The Cuomo family is huge in New York, and they've been a powerhouse for the past 50 years.
Yeah, ignore COVID or any of the other allegations of sexual harassment, but hey, New York State, you do you.
I mean, his dad had connections to the mob, so I mean that didn't hurt him.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine that Cuomo's nipple rings in his past won't hurt him much.
Yeah, yeah.
Does everybody remember that, the nipple rings?
I don't know.
No. Well, we've got to pull up at some point. You got to clip a video and show the nipple rings.
Okay.
He was holding a press conference.
We'll leave that to our guy
during COVID.
Aaron, our engineer.
During COVID, holding a press conference, had on a polo. It was a fitted polo.
Okay.
And there was something weird going on there.
Yeah.
Maybe like a bar with balls on the end.
Oh God.
Hey man.
Nobody needs to see that. No one needs to see that.
I guess whatever works for you, you know, that's pretty good work.
But let's swing back over here to Illinois, because we can report on this too, since obviously both Phil and I come from the Rockford Fire Department. We are, happy to say that our current fire chief just got appointed as the top state fire marshal for the state of Illinois.
Yeah, it's a huge thing for the city of Rockford firefighters and for her, and congratulations to her. It's awesome. I mean,
yes.
I've heard that they sought her out. She didn't apply for it.
That's what I had heard as well.
Huge. Governor Pritzker made the appointment, and when you think about the potential for her future is huge, especially on the federal politics side of it, right?
Sure.
She's a politician. Once you become a chief, you're a politician.
Yeah,
at that
absolutely.
Point, right? And now even more so as a state fire marshal and moving up. I mean, Pritzker's looking good in the 2028 race for the Democrats,
right?
And potential there, and who knows what happens. I mean, if he was to become president, you could potentially see her in a position of U.S. Fire Administration.
U.S. Fire Administration. That's
like
exactly what I was thinking.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I mean,
what a huge. I mean, this is huge. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. And, and whatever her wishes are for her future, and obviously we wish her the best because she's been on our show.
Yeah.
Great. We had a great time with her, and also the fact that we've known her for so long, and she's been the chief of our department since 2021. 2021.
4 years.
So 4 years as the chief of Rockford Fire Department, now soon to be the Illinois State Fire Marshal.
Yeah.
And like you said, as I heard it too, that she was sought after, and rightfully so. She's got great qualifications.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Yeah. So Chief Pankow, we wish you the best from Original Firefighter. So that's some of the things that are in the political world.
Yeah.
It's hard to not go down that road with you because I know that you're very active in the union.
Yeah.
Not just a lieutenant, and I shouldn't say it that way. You're a lieutenant, and your leadership is great on the company. I personally saw it, but also the fact that you are very engaged and in the know when it comes to the politics at the union level.
Yeah. And nipple rings on Angel
and nipple
Cuomo.
rings and all the things. Yeah, for sure.
This is what firemen talk about.
I didn't quite know that we were going to talk about nipple rings and politics at the same time. I don't know if I was ready for that, but we're going to make it work. Yeah. So what's now we start the process of a new search for a fire chief here in Rockford.
Yeah.
And those always take so long. It's gonna be probably 6 months.
I'm sure.
Most likely.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We got a lot of internal candidates, a lot of qualified internal candidates.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be open up to external candidates also.
Right.
Like when I saw you this morning, asked if potential there.
Stop looking this direction.
You laughed,
I got my own gig going.
Do
you see the banner behind us?
Yeah.
I got that to worry about.
Yeah.
And since you bring that up too, we've also had another guest on the show a couple times. We're gonna wish a good congratulations to Chief Kyle Hill, newly appointed to Cherry Valley, Illinois.
Yeah.
So he's now the
awesome.
fire chief of Cherry Valley Fire Protection District. So congratulations, Kyle.
Congrats.
Anyway, so what we're going to do now is we're going to swing over and we're going to get one of our other guests on the show. We'll introduce him here in just one moment. We'll be back. Joining us on the show today is our good friend, Len. How you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. Thank you. How are you?
Would you mind just for our listeners and viewers, can you tell us who you are and a little bit of your background?
Sure. My name is Len Belpedio. I'm one of the directors of the AJ Lynch Medal of Honor Veterans Foundation, and my background is an original firefighter sign at the moment.
That's a joke. No, actually, it's true. It is. His background is right now original firefighter.
Yeah. We've been coming out to Barnstormers for quite a while. We have a barrel of whiskey, as does Will and his group, and several others. We did a benefit foundation last night to benefit a veteran who's actually in attendance. I'm sure you had a chance to meet him.
I did.
Yeah.
I had never met a Medal of Honor recipient.
Oh, you met Alan as well.
Yeah. Yep.
He's a great guy.
Great guy.
If you didn't know it, you'd never guess.
Yes.
He has the highest honor in the land.
It was impressive.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We had a great time.
Yeah, so the event that we were at last night, again, out here at Barnstormers, what was that event driven, what was the whole idea behind it?
Well, the premise of the event it's basically a fundraising event. Our foundation is unique in a couple of ways. The most important probably is that 100% of our revenue is returned to veterans in need.
Okay.
And we do things that the VA is either unable or incapable or unwilling to do for veterans. So to give you an example, and there's a legal case going on with this, so I can't go too into detail. We had a veteran out here last night, Kyle. I'm not going to say his last name. He is a double amputee that is facing just usurious abuse from one of the local county taxing boards. They tried to take his veterans property tax exemption away.
Okay.
So the foundation stepped up. We wrote the check to cover his taxes, and we're going to maintain involvement as needed until this is resolved. But there is no mechanism in the Veterans Administration to address a need like that. It's just too isolated an instance, which does nothing to minimize the impact on a veteran.
Right.
So that's where we come in. That's
Okay.
what we try to do.
How did this get going, the foundation?
Alan started the foundation about 15 years ago for basically to do just this. The original premise of the foundation was when a veteran ran out of money before they ran out of month, the foundation would step up as a hand up, not a handout.
Okay.
It was a one-time deal. To give you an example, early on, they had a vet that was struggling with PTSD, as many are, that found himself a job that was going to get him out of the Veterans Assistance Foundation that he was living in, but he needed a car to get back and forth to work. The foundation bought him a used car. We had one guy, his kid got a scholarship to go to college, needed a laptop computer, couldn't afford the laptop computer. We stepped up and bought his child a laptop computer. The burden of individually vetting recipients got to be just too much. So now we do it through third parties. We still help individual vets, but we do it through a third party, either Veterans Assistance Council, American Legion Hall, a VFW Hall. Someone else does the vetting, brings the vet to us with their particular need. We review it as a board. The board votes on it, and we write them a check.
Yeah.
So last night's event was to raise funds to put money back in our kitty so that we can continue to help veterans in need.
That's wonderful. What a great cause. And it sounds to me like, you obviously are aware, and your foundation is aware, that there are so many veterans that are in need.
Oh, it's
of
unbelievable.
assistance, right?
It's unbelievable.
And that list goes on and on.
Sure.
Unfortunately, as we all know, in any kind of foundation work, you do the best you can.
Yeah.
And there just has to be an acknowledgement that there will be people that will not get the assistance that they need. And it does seem very, very strange in a country like the United States, where we are, let's face it, we are the police around the world. And
unfortunately, but you're right.
That's right. And to have such a force out there that has to do that kind of effort around the world, protecting the homeland, protecting others out there who can't protect themselves.
That's right.
And then when they get back home, and then now they need the assistance and they can't get that. That's a struggle to put that together.
It's really difficult because of all of the cracks that they are able to fall through.
Right.
One of the big hurdles that we've seen is people not knowing where to go to get the help they need. So that's something that we're trying to address as well.
Yeah. And you brought up, veterans that struggle with PTSD and other mental and physical health problems. But you're doing the good work, and obviously your foundation is doing well for others. Again, I was out here last night and attended the event. It was wonderful.
And tasted the whiskey.
I did. I tasted that whiskey. Talk about your whiskey.
So we actually have 2 barrels in process. The one we tasted last night is a 15-gallon barrel that has been in wood. That's the right thing to say. Yeah, it's been in wood. Okay. For 2 years. We tasted it last night, and I was a bit conniving in that I got 2 little half-pint bottles right off the still 2 years ago. So the board tasted it right off the still. I squirreled away 1 pint, brought it last night, so we tasted it again off the still, and then followed that by tasting after 2 years in wood. And we've decided we're going to wait on that one another 6 months before we bottle it. Get some of the whiskey back out of the wood as the weather changes.
Yep.
The second barrel, we celebrated its first birthday last night. So that's probably going to go at least another year before we bottle it.
Yeah.
When we bottle the little barrel, the first one in October, I probably shouldn't say this, Tim and Addie are listening, but we're probably going to order another one so that we.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be shocked. Actually,
I don't think so. I don't think so.
It's hard to move away once you start getting into it. It's hard to not be thinking about the process after that. When you know nothing about the aging or just the whole distilling process and creating the mash, and then when you start to understand like what is this going to do when it gets into the wood, when it gets into the barrel.
Yeah,
and that's where people like Tim and Addie. And they show us how this happens, and that you get to be a part of it.
Oh, absolutely,
from start to finish.
From the mash
and
build to the distillation to the everything, barreling.
And when you get into it, it's like now you can't stop thinking about it.
It's almost addicting.
Weird, alcohol, addicting, bourbon.
Who'd have thought?
No, we're not promoting addiction here. We're not promoting that.
But one of the comments that we received most often last night from the people that were here, we ran a couple of tours. Tim guided a couple of tours through the entire distilling process. One of the comments that came back most frequently is, I had no idea what goes into this.
Right.
So, I mean, it was a very educational evening as well.
Yeah. And we're going to have Tim and Addie on here in a little bit, and we'll go through the process. The biggest thing is I love this place. I got the layout, the history of what Barnstormers means, and I don't want to let that cat out of the bag. I want Tim and Addie to be able to tell their story. But we're sitting in an actual hangar right here. The grounds are so beautiful, and then to know that your bourbon, is aging right here on property.
Yeah, actually, it's right out on the sidewalk out there.
And obviously going through the elements of the actual true 4 seasons of where we live.
That's exactly right.
So that aging process gets the cold, it gets the heat, it gets rotated, it gets all the elements. And I think that's awesome that you're gonna come out of this with about a 2.5 year aged bourbon.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah, that's great. And like I'm not shocked that you guys are going to be doing it again. I have, we'll talk about what Original Firefighter has coming up here soon as well. So, but I did get to taste your bourbon last night.
You did, yeah,
and it was good. It's very good.
Needs another 6 months in wood.
Do you recall? So obviously when you're sipping bourbon for the first time, there's a process to it. They tell you to smell it first, have your mouth open, kind of let it, come in. As you sip it, don't swallow it immediately. Let it kind of linger on the tongue.
It's a lot like tasting wine.
It is, but so much better.
Oh yeah, well,
anybody can make wine.
That's not true, but
okay. Well, that's the way I think about it. But anyways,
making whiskey is more involved.
It very much is. Well, the thing that I love about making bourbon specifically is that it comes back to it's American made.
Absolutely. It's an American product.
It's an American product. It can only be made here in America. And do you remember what I said last night when I tasted your bourbon? The first thing I said, what did it remind me of?
Yeah, I don't remember. I talked to so many people last night. I
tasted your bourbon and kind of let it linger for a minute, and I said it tastes like fall.
You did. That's right.
It reminds me of fall. Yeah. It made me just feel like it was suddenly fall again. So I just thought it was really good. And obviously with the foundation, I wish you all the best. We'll continue to support you as much as we can.
I really appreciate that. Well, it's been a good partnership with us so far.
Yeah, it's been great.
Can I plug the foundation's website?
Please do.
It's ajlynchfoundation.org. If you have any questions about what we do or you'd like to get involved and help, ajlynchfoundation.org.
That's great. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll see you again.
All right. Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by Strike the Box Cigars, Pipes, and Tobacco. Whether you're a seasoned aficionado or just starting your journey into the world of fine tobacco, Strike the Box has what you need. From the finest cigars to premium loose leaf tobacco, Strike the Box delivers on quality in a welcoming space where you can enjoy a smoke and good company. Additionally, Strike the Box specializes in vintage pipe restoration. We're talking estate pipes brought back to life with craftsmanship that borders on art. Got Grandpa's old briar gathering dust? Let the crew at Strike the Box make it smoke like new. Check out their full list of vintage pipes for sale at striketheboxpipeandcigar.com or swing by the shop located at 6935 11th Street, New Milford, Illinois. Soak in the aroma and talk shop with real tobacco lovers from the American Fire Service. Strike the Box, where fire, flavor, and tradition meet. Again, that's striketheboxpipeandcigar.com or swing by the shop located at 6935 11th Street, New Milford, Illinois. So we're at the main event for this episode, and with me on the show is Tim and Addie, the owners and founders of Barnstormer. This place is amazing. So we just love it, and we have spent a lot of time out here recently. Original Firefighter has. Obviously, I've got my partners there, Aaron and Rob, and we've been out here a lot with you guys, getting to know what this property is all about, how it came to be. So I'm going to stop talking and ask you guys just to jump into it and say, how did this come to be? How did Barnstormer come to be?
Well, the name Barnstormers is we wanted, first of all, something aviation themed to honor both of our backgrounds. I spent 40 plus years in the airlines, and Addie finished her career with the airlines.
I did.
So
did you?
So we wanted something aviation themed, and of course, in the trademark search, we came up with Barnstormers. And for those of you that don't know what a barnstormer is, that was a pilot between World War I and World War II. They typically bought surplus government airplanes and then would fly them around from town to town doing air shows and so forth.
Yeah.
And so we liked that, but what we really liked about Barnstormers was we read a book by Fish Hassel, who is actually a Rockford native, and his airplane is featured on our vodka bottles. But in his book, he described, Barnstormers, like the book say, we flew around from town to town. He says, we made some pocket money doing that, but what we really were doing was we were all bootleggers, and we were delivering whiskey to different barns. So that's where we really made our money. And we thought that is a perfect name for a distillery.
That's awesome. That's such a great story right there in itself. I know that you have an extensive background in aviation. And would you mind just describe a little bit about what that is? Because it's extensive, isn't it?
Well, it's all I.
You've flown a little bit, haven't you?
Yeah, I've flown a little bit. It's all aviation is all I really did from the time I got out of high school. But I started out as an A&P mechanic, became a pilot, flew as a captain for 25 years, and then got into airline management. Was recruited by the FAA to write what they call SMS, safety management protocols. Did that, and then I had the bright idea that, hey, since I just wrote all these regulations that airlines have to follow, I should start a consulting company to help them comply with the rules that I just made. So I did that.
Very good.
And my company has gone around the world helping start 11 different airlines. And when we started the last one, I said, okay, it's time to retire. I turned to Addie and I said, we can live anywhere you want in the world. Where do you want to live? And she said, Rockford, Illinois.
Rockford, Illinois.
Mm-hmm. Not Rockford, Paris, or,
right.
Britain, or
he gave you a chance.
Italy, or
he gave you a chance.
I know he did. And Rockford,
but
Illinois.
You picked a beautiful property. And if you're only listening, and we've said it a few times, we're actually sitting in an actual hangar that you guys built as your main building for entertaining the bar and having the events. Your distilling process is just a little ways away from here down a gravel road, and it looks like a mad scientist lab.
Yes, it does now.
Yeah.
So Tim has what did you say, Tim? It's got 6 different configurations that we can run your stills?
Yeah, there are 6 different configurations I can run it in.
So, and here's what I will say to anyone. If you get the opportunity to tour and take the tour, Tim is always, and I say always
Yeah.
loosely because right now he's the only tour guide that we have.
Right.
But he's the best tour guide that we have. You really kind of learn about distillation. You learn about our process. We're very different from some of the other distilleries, both here and nationwide. So for people that don't know, we are one of 3 distilleries in the United States that does vacuum distillation, which is how we get our cucumber vodka, horseradish vodka, both grown right here on the property. That was a shameless plug for what we do.
It's not shameless. It's great. It's great. So Original Firefighter, I can safely say this, that we have come to have a really great connection with you guys. And I think that comes from a place of passion. I'm passionate about the fire service. You're passionate about the aviation service. You both have that background, and I'm kind of curious, Addie, of what what was the reference there? Where your background in aviation is what?
So I've worked in a lot of different industries. My entire career has been in human resources.
Okay.
But my last industry was aviation. We both met at Ryan International Airlines, which was here in Rockford. We actually flew out of Rockford, and we flew the troops all over the world. So that's our connection with the DOD and the military. So that was, so a little plug about Ryan, even though they're no longer in business. Ryan Airlines. Ryan International Airlines. Okay. They would fly out of Rockford at the Rockford Airport, and it would be the last place that troops would touch American soil before they were flown to wherever they were going. So kind of a cool mission that we did together. We were one of many, many, many people that made that happen. So kind of cool. And then Tim and I met, we got married.
But what was your last function at Ryan International?
So I worked in compliance in the HR department, and I managed their drug and alcohol program, which means
that is awesome.
Which means that either before a flight, after a flight, I was not the person that you wanted to see because I was gonna drug test you alcohol test you.
Yeah, and now look at what you do.
I know, right?
So does that mean that
I pulled her across the fence?
Does that mean that is Tim in compliance?
Tim is totally in compliance.
How often is Tim not in compliance?
Tim's totally in compliance all the time.
Tim, you're walking a little crooked there.
But here's what I will say about Tim's background, my background in aviation, and how it kind of went from aviation to the spirit world. And I don't mean like, ooh, ghouly spirit.
Yeah,
I mean,
not ghostly.
Not ghostly spirit, but good, tasty spirit.
Yeah.
When you think about the alcohol industry, it is highly regulated.
Yeah.
Rights regulations. We were starting a business, has started many. The distillery process is all bells, valves, electricity. It's all A&P mechanic.
A&P mechanic.
So and I will say to anyone who is going from their last career to maybe their second career, because we've all retired, huh, Will?
Yeah, that's what they tell me. It doesn't feel like that, but that's kind of my own fault.
Well, and then there's that.
There is that.
And then we retired because then there's that.
Yes.
But I do think that there is a second, if you're going into a second career, look at your wheelhouse. And it might not look
that's
like...
funny. We talk about that all the time at Original Firefighter.
Yeah, I mean, look at your wheelhouse. And
Yeah.
what you have in your bag, you have worked 20, 30 years at perfecting. And how does it translate into another industry? And
Yeah.
for us, it translated super seamlessly into the beverage and more specifically the distilling world. And
Yeah.
for me, the HR world transitioned really well into managing the bar, working with spirits, working with cocktails, and primarily really people.
Yeah.
So it's
you're a
what I
people
love.
person, that's for sure.
Right.
We love you. We love you.
We love you.
Yeah. It's, I mean, seriously, to our listeners and viewers, these are great people and they are running a fabulous business out here. And what you just heard, the description of, how the process of beginning a business, which is scary. I mean,
Super
it is
scary.
very nerve-wracking. I am blessed to have the partners that I have because, quite frankly, I wouldn't really want to be doing this by myself. There's a lot of business out there, sole enterprise entrepreneurs, and that's totally fine and respectable. But I enjoy the camaraderie and building something together
As
and
do
that
I.
teamwork approach.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of brings me back around to a great connection that we feel that we have between Original Firefighter and Barnstormer is one, the location, the locale, being in this area of the country together, and then to look at it from the service industry. Aviation is a service that is very unique and very specific. Firefighting is a service, very specific, very unique. And then you have a background in yourself, Addie, that you have some, your father and grandfather,
Right.
both
yeah.
firefighters.
My grandfather retired from the Rockford Fire Department,
Yeah.
and my dad served on the Rockford Fire Department. Worked at the right. Served,
Worked, yes.
served,
Both worked.
served on the Rockford Fire Department. So I feel a strong connection to what you're doing, and yeah.
Yeah.
And on top of that, my entire family on my mom's side is all aviators. So, and then I married an aviator. So I've got
Wow.
aviation, I've got firefighting in my background. Not that I've personally done either,
Right.
Except for maybe light a bonfire, which we do here.
Yeah. There's fire pits all over the place. I mean, we were out here for an event not too long ago, and there were three or four fire pits that were going at night, and the way that the trees are decorated, everything has just got a great touch of class. I wouldn't even call it so much. I mean, certainly, I think that there's a very country-esque, feeling out here, but it's got so many other dimensions to it. You could be out here, and sometimes it feels like it's the 4th of July every day.
Well, I hope
You
so,
know.
with the twinkling lights.
Yeah, with the twinkling lights and all that. And so to see it in the day, seeing it at night is so beautiful, though. So it's great. One of the things I want to swing into is what you guys are actually producing yourselves. You talked about, some of your vodkas, but you guys are really into, I mean, I can see your bottles over there, and you got a lot of brown liquor over there.
We
and
do.
some of it's whiskey and some of it's bourbon, right?
That is correct.
Okay, so go ahead and, if you wouldn't mind, to kind of walk us through that process of
Sure, well-
how you created your brands here.
So everything behind the bar right now, with one exception, is made here on the property.
Okay.
And the difference between whiskey and bourbon really comes down to mash bills and what the barrel is. Biggest difference being bourbon has to be placed into a new charred American white oak barrel, whereas whiskey can be placed in used barrels. It can be placed in something besides oak. Whiskey is anything made from grain. So being in the country, we get our 95% of our grains come within a 15-mile radius. The other 5%, the malted barley, we have to go out of state to get that because there are no malting houses in Illinois. So if anybody needs an idea to start a business, Illinois needs a malting house. So
Okay.
And we've got a lot of
we're gonna
distilleries
add
that would,
to our list. A malting house.
yeah. So
for all our entrepreneurs out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what malting means is it's sprouting. So they'll take the typically barley, spread it on big floors, wet it down. When it sprouts, then they dry it. The sprouting process creates an enzyme that converts starches to sugars, which is what we need to make alcohol.
Okay.
So
So, and we've got 22 spirits, so that you can get right here at the distillery and in the tasting room or in the hangar. We fondly call it the hangar.
Yes.
And those, I've got multiple whiskeys and bourbons, and we do everything from 100% corn to wheat to a high rye to a great bourbon mix. And then whiskeys, we do 2 different kinds of rum, and people don't think about the Midwest for rum. But we do 2 different kinds. We do a Caribbean rum and we do a Brazilian rum, which is fondly called cachaça. So that is what we use our coffee rum for. We actually cold brew coffee with our silver rum. So super yummy and delicious.
I gotta try that one. I didn't realize that. So that's great to know. Okay, so then now, let's get to the bourbon here, and what you have going on. Just with maybe the 2 bottles that are sitting right in front of us. We're gonna actually try some of this.
So here's what I will tell you: we are open every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're open all year long, so we don't close in the winter. We're actually open. When we talk about Tim and his jobs, he's a snow plower as well, so he plows for us. He wears many hats. And
it's a huge property.
Huge, yeah. We've got 22 acres, and so we maintain that. We live here, we distill here, we farm, specialty crops, some of the things that we have in the kitchen. So we've got food. But I don't know where I was going with that. I'm really sorry.
No, we were going to talk about the bourbon. Yeah. We're just going to talk about bourbon, Addie.
Let's talk about bourbon. I know, right? And I know where I was going. So the 2 bourbons that I have in front of us, you can get right here at the distillery in the hangar, but it's also found out in retail locations. So we release a very small percentage of what we do here to our distributors, which hits retailers and it hits bars and restaurants. So if you're out having dinner, always ask if they carry Barnstormer.
Yeah.
And they'll pour Barnstormer. So we've got a 90 proof bourbon in front of us, and we've got a barrel proof bourbon in front of us. What I poured was the 90 proof, which I think is super approachable. It's got a ton of character. It's got a ton of layered flavor. And then the barrel proof, it's a little bit higher, but for those of you who really like a higher, more robust bourbon or whiskey, we do a lot of barrel proof, which is very unusual for the spirit industry.
Yeah, I'd say more than 50% of our current stuff is barrel proof.
Right.
Okay.
Because I always feel like adding an ice cube is perfect.
And a lot of the bourbon connoisseurs, they will say, put a little bit of water in, and not tap water, put some good filtered water.
Mm-hmm.
But I like it. I like it just the way that it is right here in my hand.
I do too.
Yeah.
How about let's taste?
Let's taste it. All right. So we're tasting. What are we tasting here?
We are tasting the 90 proof bourbon.
Yep.
So this one 90 proof, and a couple of reasons. I heard you say earlier you taste with your mouth open. Which,
no, I would say, I said to our previous guest Len that you sniff it with your mouth open.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you taste it with your mouth open.
Yeah. I think that Addie's not in compliance right now. Okay, I think that she's running a really shady HR department at Barnstormer. So cheers. And so we're tasting the 90 proof Barnstormer whiskey. Yeah, I mean it's smooth. It's so good. It's very good.
And I think
I have several of these bottles, so I've stocked up on my side of things. I have a lot of bourbon at home, by the way.
Do you?
Way too much.
I do too.
Yeah, clearly you might have us all.
I think we probably have more bourbon at home.
Yeah, probably. That was a shameless plug on my part to suggest that I have a lot of bourbon, but I do. I have people come over and they're like, "I think you have a problem, Will."
Never. You have selection.
I have selection.
You have selection.
But no, and the whole process, and I was talking with our previous guest, Len, that, the whole, when you get into this industry, and it's not, I don't necessarily look at it probably the same way that you guys do. I mean, clearly you want to be profitable in this business. You wouldn't have I probably shouldn't say that. You did it for passion first. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, this is our retirement.
Yes.
The goal is not to become the number one bourbon producer in the country. That's not what we're doing.
But if it happened, it'd be okay.
That'd be okay. But
this is my retirement. I'm supposed to not have to work too hard.
Yeah, but I've seen you around here. You're never retired. You're moving from this building to that building, and then you're out cutting wood. I mean, you're never really sitting down.
No, we never sit still. Ever.
But that's a good thing.
But it is.
I think that when you're sedentary, especially in those retirement ages, I don't know. I don't want to speak for everybody, but I would get the feeling that you're missing something in life. You've given up a lot of your previous life by, because like we said, you've had how many years you said in aviation?
40 plus.
40 plus. I've got 30, pushing 33, 34 years in the fire service now. And if you were to just step away completely from all of that, you're giving up a huge part of who you are, your identity, background.
Right.
You almost immediately are giving up connections, friends. I mean, hopefully the friends you've made along the way will stay with you, but it's just life. You'll lose people along the way.
But
when you gain something,
yes.
you gain something back by taking, like you said, all those things that you have in your toolbox, and then you realize, like, I could actually build the next thing that is about what I want to do.
Well, and I feel like bourbon is the perfect way, or any kind of a cocktail amongst friends is the best way to kind of segue into a new relationship, into new friendships. And I feel like being out here, this is the 4th summer that we've been open. We have so many friends like yourself, like Len, like we have really been honored to have been part of really fantastic events and organizations, and that we would have never been before.
Right.
So for us, for me being a little bit on the extroverted side, for me, it's
wait till she drinks bourbon.
I get lovey. I love everybody and everything. Right? But it has been a really great opportunity for us to get plugged back into our community, to learn about what's happening in Rockford, being able to help, being able to host things like the AJ Lynch Foundation last night, to be able to see individuals getting help that they desperately need, or the firefighters, guys start. It's been an amazing process to watch and be a part of.
Yeah, no, we've been so lucky to be on this journey with you guys. And one of the things that we're going to be doing here very shortly is I'm going to be bringing in the 2 other partners from Original Firefighter. We're going to have a conversation with Tim about our bourbon that we're going to be tasting today.
I love that.
And then basically the concept that we have where we're going to be bringing this bourbon out to the market. So, with that, your bourbon is amazing. All the other spirits I've had all the other stuff too. But just being a bourbon guy myself, I really am drawn to that. And this is just a beautiful property. And so we're happy to have the relationship that we have with you guys. Thanks for being on our show. And we're going to be doing this again. And we know we'll have you back for sure.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
So now we're going to move into having a conversation with Tim about the Original Firefighter bourbon that we have been aging here for the last year. And actually today marks 1 year that we've had our bourbon in
1
barrel.
year exactly, right?
1 year exactly. And obviously that's, we understand the bourbon process, and that what we're talking about here with our first go around with Original Firefighter bourbon is that it's going to be a young bourbon. We know that. But one of the things that we made a decision about was to go with smaller barrels to start with, so that there was a opportunity there for the liquid inside that barrel to have more time to touch the surfaces within the barrel. Is that correct?
Yeah. What happens is it's smaller barrels have a higher ratio of wood to liquid, which is what you need to age the bourbon. So the smaller the barrel, the faster it ages.
Yeah.
So the smallest we do is a 10-gallon, and typically the maturity is 18 to 30 months, depending on how much you want to age.
For the smaller barrels.
For the smaller
right?
barrels, yeah. Now you get to the larger barrels, the 53s, you're talking 4 to 7 years.
Yeah.
So smaller barrels do allow you to get the same taste earlier on. They're not as economical because it almost costs as much for a 10-gallon as it does a 53-gallon barrel.
Wow.
So we're paying more, but it's going to taste right there.
Yes.
It's going to be right there.
Yeah. So some distilleries strictly use smaller barrels. There's a couple in Chicago that only do 15 gallons. We do a mixture of everything. So we're spread across the board. Most of the custom barrels we do, which probably I would say 40% of our production is custom barrels. Most of those are done in 10 and 15 gallon barrels.
You were sharing with us early on that it's actually possible to over oak
It
you
is.
let it sit in that small barrel.
Especially the
Small
small
ones.
barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with a small barrel. If you wait too long, if you wait past, say, 3 years in a 10-gallon barrel, all you'll taste is oak. And that's not necessarily what you want.
But you have ours aging in a special place. Let's not tell them where that is, but it's going to taste even better, right?
Well, that's true. So
Yeah.
yes, aging is all about temperature fluctuations, because when the wood gets warm, the pores open up, it sucks spirit in. When it gets cold, it forces it back out. So every time a hot-cold cycle goes through, it goes in and out of the charcoal, which filters it and ages it. So the more hot-cold cycles you can get, the faster it will age.
The image I have in my head right now is remembering last year when we were out here, Rob, and you were like a little kid up on the ladder, like looking into the into the distill pot.
If you guys could see this place, it is like a playground for adults.
Absolutely,
It's like where you want to be. When you're sitting in your cubicle or sitting around in some place you don't want to be, this is what you're thinking about where you do want to be. It's the thought bubble of where you're dreaming to be every day is here.
Yeah, I would never even imagine, as I'm out here at Barnstormer, I don't even feel like I'm in Illinois. I feel like I'm somewhere.
It feels like a resort.
It feels like a resort.
Yeah.
It feels like I could be in the tall woods of Colorado, actually.
Yeah.
Something just feels very, very different. It doesn't feel like I'm right next to whatever Rockford is now, third, fourth largest city in Illinois, but still the most murderous city. Sorry, it's real, true. Well, actually, Chicago
the best
still leads
and the
that.
worst of
still
Rockford.
leads that.
Yeah.
But anyways, so that kind of reminds me, like last year, you were just.
It was a playground for me.
It
was
is,
like,
yeah.
let's see everything and yeah.
Yep. So we decided when we were making our mash bill with you, Tim, you'd kind of gave us some ideas of where we could go, or maybe where we should go. One of the things with Original Firefighter and just sort of the lore of firefighting, we wanted to have something in our mash bill that gave a hint or a suggestion, a nod to the fire service. And Aaron, do you remember what did we come up with?
What do we end up with? Toasted oats.
Toasted oats.
Toasted
Yep.
oats. And then I think we added some additional things for a little bit more mouthfeel and
Yep.
Can't give away the whole recipe.
No, we're not going to
yeah.
go into the specifics on this podcast.
But what is the toasted oats specifically? Because I mean that's something that we're going to share out there, and we're already sharing it.
Yeah.
But is that what does that do for our particular bourbon?
Anything toasted, be it either oats or malt or even corn, is going to give you that smoky type flavor. So yeah, you guys had chosen. I believe I have to look at my records, but both toasted oats and toasted barley.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. And I think we talked even at one point about blowing some smoke into the barrel. That might be an exploration we do in the future.
Yeah.
Everything is better smoked. Cheese, ham, like if you smoke it, it's just like way better.
That's so true. That's so true.
I think I recall even at 6 months when we did a draw. Well, even at the beginning, tasting the mash, you could get some of that toastiness in it. It was more like it was less like a porridge and more like a piece of like toasted sourdough or something to me.
Yeah. So this will be our second tasting. We did taste it at 6 months. Again, just being honest in the process that we knew that 6 months would be very, very young.
Right.
But I got to tell you, because I thought through the process, I saw the white dog go into the barrel. And it's clear,
we
it's
sampled
crystal
the white
clear.
dog.
Yep.
It's still potent, that's for sure. It'll kick your butt. And what proof does that go in at?
Typically, we put it in the barrel at in the high teens, 115 to 118.
Yeah,
Right.
and it has to go in at a certain proof, right?
It has to go in to be a bourbon. It has to go into the barrel at less than 125 proof.
Yeah, and I remember us measuring that or getting into the sweet spot there.
Yep.
So so we had to see it go in to the barrel as the white dog, and then I thought, hey, we're gonna come out here. It was close to Christmas time, I think
Right,
it was,
yeah.
and we were about 6 months into the process, and I thought, how different could it be from when it went into the barrel? I was shocked at how it had started to age already.
Yeah,
And
color had already started to caramelize a bit. Yeah,
the taste
complexity to the taste. The mouthfeel was
I
already
couldn't be here for that,
starting
but
to
you
develop.
guys were texting me with a lot of emojis. Like I was like, oh, these guys are loving it.
Yeah. So
I don't know where I was. Probably somewhere.
No, you were sick. You were sick.
That's right.
You were very sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
So we think that you had the new COVID variant. We think that's what you were sick with.
I don't think I have ever had COVID. I got the so you can't get it, right?
A shameless plug here. I will say 120 proof alcohol does kill the COVID virus.
There you go.
So if you drink
Did
barrel
you tell
proof,
them that?
That's why we didn't
You
get
should have
it.
brought me out some.
You
A little
were
hot toddy
sick.
would have been nice.
Yeah, come on out, man.
Well, President Trump at the time was trying to figure out how to get the bleach
How to
inside
get the bleach
body.
inside you.
no bleach.
Who would have known?
120 proof alcohol.
120 proof alcohol kills the COVID virus.
As a distiller tasting stuff coming off the still, I don't believe I ever got COVID. I'm not saying there's a correlation there, but
Well, I'll tell you this: we had our first short on TikTok booted off because we talked about COVID and we talked about getting it even after getting the vaccination. We got booted.
Oh, you suck.
That's right.
Yeah.
You can't handle the truth.
You can't handle the truth. Let's swing back to what we want to talk about and what we're actually going to be doing very shortly here. We're actually going to be using the Whiskey Thief and taking out another sample of our of one of our barrels. And we're excited about this. We're going to taste it
I'm
at
excited
the
too.
1 year mark. And so let's get to it.
Would you say this would be similar on a 53-gallon barrel to pulling a draw at like 2 years,
I would-
2.5 years?
I'd
something
equate
like
it to
that?
about a 2 year.
Yeah. This is gonna be exciting.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to
awesome.
it.
We have a lot of information coming out here over the next year and a half, if you will. But we do have a goal.
So you heard it here first. Our bourbon is
Yep.
coming out. I know we alluded to it at FDIC a little bit, but it's happening.
it's
guys.
happening.
It's
We're
We're
happening.
talking about. We're not
We're not-
disclosing the name.
No, we're not.
No,
we're going to
no.
keep that under wraps. We're going to keep a couple other things under wrap. We'll start revealing
But
things
if you think
along
you
the
know
way.
what we're gonna call it, put it in the comments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you think you know, then let us know.
Maybe
Let's
we'll change
see.
the name.
Maybe
Yeah.
if you,
Be like, oh,
maybe
that-
if you guess
Yeah.
it right.
Good.
Yeah, it'll be like the what was the original working title for Star Wars? What was it? Does anyone know?
No, that's kind of the point, right?
I just heard Return of the Jedi was going to be originally Revenge of the Jedi.
Revenge of the Jedi. That's what it was. Actually, yeah, you're right.
I just heard that
Yeah.
as I was driving here. So
Yeah.
now I get to use that information.
Yeah, if you haven't figured it out, we're kind of Star Wars geeks. We like it. Only 4, 5, and 6. Sorry, I know Aaron's like, I like the other ones, so it's like,
Nope, 4, 5, and 6, definitely at the top.
all
I don't
right,
need those comments.
Let's not derail with Star Wars. Let's get into original Firefighter bourbon.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right. Thanks,
Do it.
Tim.
This episode of the Original Firefighter Podcast is sponsored by Castle Contracting. Castle Contracting offers commercial and residential restoration, leading the industry in roofing, residential siding, gutters and downspouts, egress window installation, storm damage assessment and repair, and solar energy, saving you money and time. If you want to be treated like royalty, contact Castle Contracting to schedule a free inspection. Call them at 877-512-4207 or go online and visit castleexteriors.net. That's 877-512-4207 or go online and visit castleexteriors.net. Serving Illinois, Wisconsin, and Kentucky, Castle Contracting has you covered. Your home is your castle. Call Castle Contracting today. So to round out our segment here, we're still at Barnstormers, and we just got done tasting our bourbon along with another bourbon called Midtown Mash. We tasted the original Firefighter bourbon. So far, it's aging beautifully. And then some firefighters from Rockford, Illinois, Firehouse number 2. They have a new bourbon themselves, and it's called the Midtown Mash. It's going to be great. But also, as we were out here at the distillery at Barnstormer, we had a chance to meet Don Weinstein. And Don is a World War II veteran. I mean, you are a World War II veteran. Today being June 6th, D-Day. I think that's pretty monumental milestone. Don, how are you doing?
I'm doing
Welcome to
pretty
the
good.
show.
I got a sniff of that bourbon, but I can't drink anymore.
Oh, yeah. So you just had a little
sniff
of it,
and
huh?
it smelled very good.
Oh, good
It
deal.
has nice color. I'm looking at it now in that glass.
Don, if you don't mind, how old are you right now?
I'll be 98 on the 17th of June.
98 on the 17th of June. So we are so happy to have you here. It's unexpected, and we're just very thankful for you to be on. Don, what has been your experience living out this way? Obviously close to Barnstormers where we're at. You live just down the road here.
Right.
What brought you back to this area after your experience?
Well, I was born in Chicago and went to Chicago schools through 4th grade. And these were the Depression years. Everyone was poor. People were selling apples and pencils on the street. My father had a good business in Chicago, and it collapsed during that period. And he bought a tavern in Leaf River that was for sale for $100, and moved our family from a steam-heated apartment to this little town with no indoor plumbing. And that's how we ended up in this area. And I went through high school, enlisted in the Navy my senior year, and that was 1945. Is this what you want me to talk about?
Yes, you bet, please.
And in 1945, it was getting close to the end. And I had a principal at that little school that told me that he knows I want to go to college, and that if I enlist now, there's going to be benefits. And that's exactly what 3 of us did. We took some extra work, and they mailed us our diplomas. I was in boot camp, and I got it in the mail. And they wouldn't let me come home to graduate. I wanted to go in my uniform on that stage, but it didn't happen. And then I was stationed at a Naval Air Station out in Oklahoma. And I was always interested in flying. And I signed up for sea duty, but they sort of laughed because people at that place were primary flight people, and they didn't go to sea. That part of the Navy flew. So I signed up for their flying program. I got into the part of ground school, and the Japanese War was over. And I didn't want to sign up for 4 more years. So I didn't start flying on my own until 1952. So that's the part of my military.
Right.
But my high school years spent in Leaf River. During the summer, I worked at Camp Grant, as all the kids did. We worked there. Our wages were very low, either 50 cents or $1 an hour at most. And I drove a truck for the post exchange and delivered supplies. There were 15 post exchanges on Camp Grant. And in the process of delivering supplies, I had to pass by the German soldiers because Camp Grant had the elite Germans, the Africa Corps, were there, and they're fenced-in areas, and they would Heil Hitler, and they would raise their swastikas, and they had a good life. They were treated a lot better than our soldiers were treated. And they were able to whistle at all the girls when they passed by. But the funny thing is, I'm only 5'6", and I was told that this elite German corps in Africa under Rommel, that I thought they're all going to be 6 foot or more. They were all shorter than I was.
Yeah, that's definitely a misnomer right there, isn't it? That they're all tall and blonde and blue-eyed, right?
Right.
These are just short little guys that were hanging out. I mean, obviously they were not hanging out. They were in captivity, right? They were captured, yes?
They were treated so well, a lot of them didn't want to go back home.
Sure.
They wanted
and they were
to
just
live
right here at Camp
right at Camp Grant.
Camp Grant, yes. And that's just right up not very far from where we're at right now.
Right. It's now our airport.
Yeah, that's right. Interesting so two things I have to share with you. So my grandfather, and I just found this out, I didn't know this. So last year I had the opportunity, the humble privilege to go stand on the beaches of Normandy.
Oh.
A year ago, basically today, actually I think June 12th was when we went out there last year. So we went to all the beaches. I actually got sand from all the beaches and, did this, major historical journey through France. We basically followed the Easy Company journey that took them from the beaches of Normandy through France into Germany, Heidelberg, and then on to Austria. And I went to the Eagle's Nest. So I got to stand
quite
there.
A history.
That's right.
I can't imagine the feelings that you had.
And the fact that I'm now sitting next to you, and you were a part of the Navy during this time period, and then you say that basically, what was your main job or function at Camp Grant? Well,
that was in my high school years.
Okay.
And we just delivered supplies from a warehouse to the 15 PXs.
Okay.
There was one PX that was black only. And it gave you an example how poorly the blacks were treated during World War II, even though they were all soldiers. But they had the worst spot, and their PX was over at the railroad station.
Wow.
And you realize that things hadn't changed all that much as far as the black and white situation in the military.
What was your main role in the Navy? What was your job?
I was a petty officer, and I taught a class, and everybody that was up for advancement would have to go through my little office. I actually had office hours. It was unbelievable. So these old timers and these guys would come in that were in a lot of battles, even one from the Battle of Midway, and trying to get advanced to a chief petty officer. I'd have to administer the exam.
Okay.
And I have to admit at this time, they all passed.
Nobody was going to fail.
No, there were no fail, not what these guys had been through.
Yeah. So when you think back to, how your life has gone from back in those days and to where you're at today, I mean, there are not very many World War II veterans still alive today. And how has that been for you to look back at all the milestones that have come and gone? And obviously last year was the 80th anniversary. And, what's your reflections on all of that since you've had all this time now?
Oh, I always complain I'm running out of people, and all of my friends and buddies are all gone.
Yeah.
I haven't got one that survived this long.
Right.
And all I can think on a day like today, I think of the day the war started. And my father, my mother, my two sisters, and myself were listening to classical music on a radio in our dining room, and they interrupted that station saying that we were just attacked at Pearl Harbor. And all of us looked at each other and said, where is Pearl? We never heard of Pearl Harbor.
Wow.
And that I was, I think, 14 at that time. And a couple years later, I tried to change my birth certificate in order to enlist. And I did a very poor job.
Lots of people did that, though, right?
I wasn't going to be a forger. No, everyone wanted to get in. And with my history and with a Jewish family and what was happening to our people in Europe, we really wanted to get in.
Yeah, you wanted to
Right. So
punch back.
Right. So those are the kind of memories I have.
Sure.
And I had friends in the Navy that were at Normandy at the time. And the pitcher on our softball team was on one of those, I don't know what they call LSTs, I think, where the trap door comes down.
Yeah.
And somehow or other it caught him. He was the first one from our town that was that got killed in World War II. And that struck home.
Yeah. You know, I think they're Johnny boats with the gate that comes down, obviously, you know, getting them onto the beach.
Right.
Yeah. So apparently the reason that the National World War II Museum is in New Orleans is because that boat specifically was manufactured out of New Orleans. And so it's the only national museum that is not in Washington, D.C. And they made a accommodation to the city of New Orleans to have the World War II National Museum in New Orleans because of that boat.
I'm a charter member to the National Museum
Are you?
of World War II
That's
in
great.
Washington.
Oh, sure.
But I never got to the New Orleans one.
Yeah. Don, it's been great to have you on our show. We really appreciate the time that you gave to us, and we really appreciate the time that you gave to our military and the protection that you gave to the United States of America. Thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And with that, we've had a wonderful time here at Barnstormers in Rockford, Illinois. You should come out here, check it out. Check out their bourbons and other spirits, vodkas, and things that they make out here. But the whiskey and bourbon is fantastic, and the people are great. Thank you so much to Tim and Addie at Barnstormer. And as always out there, be safe. This has been the original Firefighter Podcast. Thanks for watching and listening. Tune in each week on Wednesdays for a new episode. Like and follow us on all social media platforms and subscribe to our YouTube channel today.